as a roar. He does oozy through it roar. Here comes the avalanche. Here the avalanche again, my friend.
Once upon a time, there was an ethical scientist by the name of Ariel, who built a scientific empire based on the ideas that science and technology should be used to increase humanity's capacity for goodwill, joy, and abundance in the modern world. The name of his lab was called Revolutionary Thinking, and the goal of this lab was a revolution of minds and an evolution of spirits. That motto meant having a better relationship with our technologies so they truly enhance our lives instead of just addict us to things that aren't healthy. Revolutionary thinking had been working on ways of enhancing the human experience by biotechnologies that could help people with things such as regrowing limbs that they lost, curing pain through inhalants instead of pills, and making people immune to cancers and viruses by special elixirs. On the technologies front, it made 3D printers that could print things in the sky, special airships where people can live in the air, and ways of getting around through the air so traffic would be a thing of the past. That was the special Ariel's Aerials section of revolutionary thinking. So Ariel was en route in his private jet to speak with car executives of his plans to aerialize, make airborne, the car industry. He landed at the executive headquarters of the car manufacturers. He spoke about how flying cars, like the ones in sci-fi movies, would lead to less pollution, less traffic, and less stress and strain on the economy. Since these flying vehicles can be manufactured through 3D printing and made cheaply, it gives everyone access to the freedom of the sky. Now, getting around has a whole new third dimension for the average commuter, and these vehicles come with motion detection that stops them from crashing into buildings and other flying objects in the sky. Seemed like the talk was going great, and the plans to create an aerial car fleet of the future was just what those executives were looking for. Unbeknownst to Ariel, though, they secretly hated the idea because they were all in bed with the major oil and gas companies, and this move to solar and electric powered flying vehicles would demolish the profit margins of such companies. So they snuck into Ariel's jet and had a radioactive device installed somewhere in the ventilation systems to go off at a certain altitude. Ariel said his goodbyes to the executives with the deadly device in his jet. Next, Ariel was heading off to a peace, science, and technology summit in Nepal. As he was flying over Nagar, India, the device went off, filling the jet with radiation and melting some of the flight controls, and the radioactive material getting on Ariel's skin and burning him. When the jet was nosediving into the mountains, a gasket blew and threw him out of the jet into the side of the Himalayas. Was he dead? Well, a strange thing started happening. The radiation fused with Ariel's DNA, with the snow and ice. It started merging his body and consciousness with the icy coldness. A large portion of the side of the mountain started turning green, and Ariel was buried in this bright green icy ooze. He moved violently to get out, and then chunks of green snow just started rushing down the mountain in an insane frenzy. That's when he realized he became an avalanche. He had the power to fuse his body with the ice and snow to shapeshift it from place to place, thanks to his DNA melding with it. Then Ariel lost consciousness for a moment. As he was laying on top of the same snow on that mountain, it was turning white. Then he woke up and met a Sherpa who directed him to a hotel he could rest at. While he was getting ready to sleep, he thought about how these covertly cowardly evil people were trying to get rid of him for doing the right thing and making a better world. These are the scammers who keep humanity stuck and miserable, and these scammers do it for their own personal gain. He knew that he could no longer be nice and kind to these people because if they targeted him, they'd have no qualms of trying to target anyone else. The next day, he went out to the snow and saw that he could fuse with it at any given moment. He could shape-shift the snow, and he had the ability to move large portions of ice and snow up and down mountains. How would he use these newfound powers he had? Well, he knew that these dirty people loved using their wealth to go on skiing trips in places such as Aspen and Davos. It would be pretty interesting if they happened to have a little accident while they are enjoying one of their favorite sports. After Ariel did his research, and he found out that one of the people who installed that radioactive device on his jet was actually heading to Nepal to climb Mount Everest. As the scammer was climbing up Mount Everest with his friends and the Sherpa who was guiding him, he made his way to the rest stop. And at that rest stop, his friends and his Sherpa left him to go get some more supplies. And that's when Ariel saw his opening. He fused with the ice and snow and just came down on the scammer with no remorse. That scammer was buried under 1,000 feet of ice and snow, and it was impossible for anyone to dig him out. Ariel said, "Now I am become Avalanche, the destroyer of scammers." Ariel no longer had any qualms about coming down on people who deserved it. What or who would he come down on next?
Avalanche.